The Echelons are the recon class of XDEFIANT. Whether they're painting their targets through walls, leading to easy kills, getting behind enemy lines and wreaking havoc with their cloaking suits, or hunting you down with their sonar goggles, the Echelons are always a threat, and if not played around correctly, will get immense value, potentially causing games to snowball. So if you want to start snowballing games, or stopping somebody else from doing so, you're in the right place. Disclaimer, this video is made with ranked in mind, but unlike my Phantom guide, everything in this video can be used at 100% efficiency, whether you're playing ranked or not. With that being said, let's get right into it. The Echelons have the passive low profile, where they don't show on the minimap. Kinda. This passive is true up until there's an Echelon on the enemy team. More on this in just a bit. Let's talk about the digital ghillie suit first. This renders you nearly invisible, but moving and aiming reduce the potency of the effect while also making a very distinct sound at the start, middle, and end of it. The ghillie is active for a total of 10 seconds with a cooldown of 30. Next up is the intel suit, which shares the location of nearby enemies with your team. And if I'm gonna be honest, the description kinda sucks, so let me redo it. The intel suit highlights your enemies, allowing you and your team to see them through walls and on the minimap. This has a radius around the player of about 15 meters and lasts for 15 seconds with 5 total pings, with each ping being 3 seconds after the last, and then it goes on cooldown for 30 seconds. This is one of the reasons why the passive works up until an enemy echelon is present. The next reason would be your ultimate, the sonar goggles. Reveal enemies and hunt them down with Sam Fisher's 5.7 pistol. This works just like the intel suit, except now it's constant and it isn't radius based for the highlight, but it is for the radar. Also, it only highlights enemies for you, but your team can still see them on the radar, and this time it shows the direction they're looking. Now, with this being an ultimate ability, the charge time can vary widely depending on the caliber of player, but it lasts for 12 seconds and it can one shot up to 25 meters. And past this will be 2 shots to the body or 1 headshot. As I said in the intro, you are the recon class, and as a recon, you need to be in a forward position most of the time so you can get the info to your team quicker. That way they have more time to respond to that said info. The keyword here is most though, because this changes a bit when intel suit is in use. But let's go over the ghillie suit first. With the ghillie suit, you are pretty much forced to use to get in and out of forward positions, but there's a couple things you need to understand about using it. Number one is to be mindful of your timer. 10 seconds is a long time, and if you're not patient enough, it can get you killed, leaving you getting no value. Number two, trigger discipline. If you've played a tag shooter before, then this isn't news to you, but if you haven't, then this is a good skill to have if you have a good flank going. You don't need to shoot as soon as you see someone. All too often, I see people break their invis only to drop a kill. Wait until it's a guaranteed kill, and if multiple people are nearby, consider waiting just a bit longer for a potential multi-kill. Even if you don't get the multi-kill, that's fine, because at least you'll get one and damage on another, which is always better than breaking invis and getting none. Number 3, manage your distance. This does 2 things. Not only does it make you harder to spot, but it also makes you harder for them to hear you, because remember, activating the ghillie suit makes sound throughout the entire duration. And last but not least, number 4, don't be a one trick. Some maps just aren't good for the ghillie, and the same goes for the intel suit. You're going to need to know when to switch. A good example of this is Arena. You will get so much more value running intel suit over ghillie on that map, simply because of how small it is and how much area you can cover with your scans. But since it's so small, you'll get spotted in your ghillie way easier. Moving over to the intel suit, this is much easier to play than the ghillie suit. With the intel suit, you have much more leeway and don't have to be a super gunner to get value, but your positioning needs to be just as good. Generally, you want to get as much area as you can with your scans as possible. This means that the edges of the map are pretty much off limits for you so that you don't waste the scans, but we all know that that isn't possible every time. There's going to be times where you'll need to scan on the edge to help win gunfights. There's no way around that, but you shouldn't be in that situation all too often. In most cases, you'll be in the middle of the map where the intel suit allows you to be a bit more controlling and force the enemies to conform and play around you and your scans, causing your team to win entire skirmishes and sometimes team fights, giving you a huge advantage in terms of ultimates and objectives. There's 2 ways to use the intel suit, proactively and reactively. For proactive uses, you're most likely attacking the area, like the objective, and you pop it while you're pushing in, scanning more and more of the map as you get closer. Now, while doing this, make sure you push in between the scans and not as it's going off, because it scans from your last position outwards, and it doesn't keep going with the player as they move, so you don't want to get caught sprinting while your next ping is going off. And remember, like I said earlier, each ping is 3 seconds from the last. So once it pings, you have 3 seconds to move to your next spot before that next one comes out. For reactive uses, you could probably guess, but it's usually when you're defending and the enemy team is pushing to you. Now, reactive uses are really strong because they throw a wrench in the enemy team's plan, and it either causes them to wait it out, which they don't want to do, EMP you, which for one is hard, and stops them from destroying other key abilities like Libertad's heal or Phantom's mag barrier. Or what most people will do is to use their own scan reactively to not be at a disadvantage. But you have to be a bit careful with this one because they'll have the last ping now since they popped theirs after yours. And when it comes to your ult, it's pretty much the same as using the intel suit, where you can use it proactively to help the push and make plays, or reactively to enemy echelon goggles and pushes. But remember, only you can see them through walls now, so you'll have to communicate where people are pathing so your team can react accordingly. Funny enough, every faction has tools that can counter Echelon when their goggles and abilities are active. Phantoms have shields that block your 5/7 bullets. Libertads have their ults, which gives them 200 health, and your 5/7 only does 120 to the body and 162 to the head in the max damage range. This means that no matter what, it's going to be a 2-shot kill, which isn't bad, but you're most likely to lose that fight. Echelon, for the reason we just went over for the last section, and DeadSec with their ults and dreaded spider bot that counters everybody. You also have EMP grenades that will cancel both your ghillie and intel suits. However, you can play around most of these and effectively negate them. The only ones where it's basically impossible is DeadSec ult, Cleaner firebomb, and EMP grenades. All of these you have no real control over. Since DeadSec ults is massive, Cleaners can jump around a corner and obliterate you, and some people just toss their EMPs off spawns, which might end up hitting you. But onto the ones we could play around, the Phantoms really only counter you when they have shields and your ult is active. So to combat this, wait until their mag barrier is on cooldown, and if they have ult and decide to use it to not die to your 5/7, consider that a win, because now they can't use it for what they originally wanted, which is most likely a push to the objective. And if they don't have their ults, well, enjoy your freebie. The same thing applies to Libertad. If they have ults, you're cooked. If not, easy pickings. But when it comes to enemy echelons, it gets a little complicated. Just like the intel suit ditto, they can do the exact same thing with goggles. So if you pop goggles, they do the exact same thing, and the map will effectively be in a stalemate because you're both directing comms and relaying positions and pathings to your teammates. And the only real way to combat this is to be the better player in team, unfortunately. Because if you want to avoid this type of thing, you need to get goggles first so you can use it to make plays and be ready with other ults like DeadSec or Libertad ult to cancel out their goggles and stop them from making their own plays. But if you're not confident in ensuring this, then just stick to the ditto route, because at that point you can at least trade ults and neither get value and save the possibility of a blunder. And with that, that's the end of the guide. If you enjoyed the video, share with your friends so that they too know how to play Echelon properly. And of course, do the like, comment, and subscribe thing. I'm super close to 1,000 and even closer to 700. So it'd be great if you could help me with that. But only do that if you liked the video. And if you didn't, tell me why. I want to make sure that my videos are helpful, and your feedback is key to making that happen. Alright, enough yapping. Have a great rest of your day.